You are watching Grts, and this is the news of for a look at our top stories. President Jammeh dilates on the reasons that inform his decision to place high premium on health as he answers questions from children taking part in the maiden edition of National Children's Day of Broadcasting. Residents of three low Fuladu West villages descend on Vision 2016 rice fields in Pacha to transplant rice seedlings and prepare nursery beds for the rice variety called Gambianka. Youth leaders highlight gains made by the Jammeh administration in youth empowerment as they look forward to the Africa-wide Youth Convergence dubbed Banjul Plus 10. And the conflicts in Ukraine and Afghanistan topped the agenda during the first meeting between NATO and Russian envoys in 2 years. These and other stories coming in the next hour. I am MOMODOU. The President of the Islamic Republic of the Gambia, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Ejeje Jammeh Babili Mansa, has granted an interview to a group of children taking part in the maiden edition of the National Children's Day of Broadcasting. The event, staged by the Children's Department of the Gambia Radio and Television Services and supported by Her Excellency the First Lady and Chairperson of Operation Save the Children Foundation, has Empowering Children for Better Health as a theme. This was the President's response when one of the children asked why the head of state places a lot of premium on health.
The nation is a wealthy nation. It's a prosperous nation. And so, to ensure that we have a prosperous future, a very strong nation, the future leaders, you are the future leaders. If you are not healthy, the future of the country is not healthy because you are the insurance for the continuous progress and prosperity of this country. But not only you too, I think maybe in your school you have somebody who is always sickly. You can see somebody who is always sickly, the performance of that person in class, in academic work, or a teacher who is always very sick, the performance is very poor. So that tells you that health, a healthy nation and healthy children is indispensable for the socio-economic, the sustainable socio-economic development of this country. And we want to be an economic superpower, and by the grace of the Almighty Allah, we will be. Now, you cannot have that if, God forbid, the children today are sick and then tomorrow they will still be sickly. Also, when children are sick, it costs the government a lot of money. When anyone is sick, it costs the government a lot of money, but more so when it concerns the children. So we want to make sure that we want to protect everybody, make sure that everybody is healthy, so that also nobody will have an excuse not to participate in national socio-economic development. If the children are healthy, the future is healthy. If the children are not healthy, we cannot guarantee a healthy future for the country, a prosperous country.
President Jammeh there talking to Grts, children of the National Children's Day of Broadcasting, taking part in 2016 NCDB. The platform is created to enable children to interact with top government officials, decision makers and their peers, as well as to allow them to make their voices heard. Watch out for the full interview and a broad range of interesting programs produced and presented by the children on Saturday, April 23, 2016. Volunteers from 3 villages in the lower Fuladu West this afternoon descended on the Vision 2016 rice fields in Pacha to transplant rice seedlings and prepare nursery beds for the rice variety called Gambianka. The exercise was witnessed by Central River Region Governor Omar Khan and the farm's manager, Major Sidi Balde, who shared few words with Grts. Here are excerpts.
Field, people come here on a daily basis, every day, at least to clear the field or to transplant, and that's what they're actually doing now. I mean, we have to once again thank His Excellency the President for coming up with this wonderful idea of Vision 2016. In fact, he is a man of example. He leads by example. So that's why everybody is following him, be they youths, women, and elders. We're always following his advice to go to the field, grow what we eat, and eat what we grow. That is why there is never a lull in this area, here and his rice field in Janjambure. It's an year-round activity, and people are always coming out in their large numbers, particularly women groups.
This is a self-help project, and then this is what we call come and then work on your own, because they own it. It's theirs. So they knew very well it is theirs, because His Excellency the President, whatever he does it for the people. And he has already done it. He has already paved the way for us. And then he has paved the way for the people. He is providing all logistic, everything that you think of in this place. He's the one providing. He's providing the tractors to plow paddle for the women. He is providing the seeds. And then he is making sure that everybody that comes to the field is fed to satisfaction. And then all what we are growing here remains here. All what we are doing here is going back to the people. It is going back to the people who are the ones that are cultivating on these fields. They own it. So that is why they are taking it as theirs. And that is why every time people will be calling every minute, every second, when are we coming? It has taken a long time, it did not come. But we cannot call all of them on one day, because we have to give, the place is too huge. We have a lot of people, very many villages who will want to come. Everybody want to come.
Watch out for the report in the bulletins on Thursday at 8 and 10 p.m. respectively, as well as highlights at 10:30 p.m. The Minister of Agriculture has underscored the importance of building the capacity of local farmers in the drive to develop the agricultural sector. Honorable Ismail Sanyang was speaking in Quinala during a visit to a mixed farming center which trains over 100 women on sustainable, cost-effective and innovative vegetable production techniques. MOMODOU reports on the initiative that is set to revolutionize vegetable production in the Gambia.
Quinala Mixed Farming Center is one of 6 sites upgraded and renovated by the Ministry of Agriculture to build the capacity of local farmers in the field of sustainable, cost-effective and healthy agricultural food production. The center has over 100 local women farmers undergoing training on basic vegetable production and soil management techniques. Ansumana NJIE is the Regional Agricultural Director overseeing the management of the center.
The center is on production because some of the factors that definitely help us in production are in place. We have a good fencing, we have good water systems, and we have also some field extension workers who are present here who will help these farmers to make sure that they teach them on good agricultural practices. And these farmers will be used as contact farmers on their various vegetable schemes so that they can also teach farmers, because we believe that farmer-to-farmer contact will definitely help since our extension farmer ratio is very high.
The idea is to revive and intensify agricultural production with emphasis on quality, sustainability, and maximum returns for farmers, particularly local women, who are the mainstay of vegetable production in the Gambia.
The government pays a lot of emphasis to ensuring that we also return on investment to communities. We know that this land that has been given to Minister of Agriculture for the sole purpose of training farmers so that they can improve their productivity. Agriculture did not only stop at ensuring that we train the whole of the region in terms of good agricultural practice, but we also that this community of Quinala and other communities that have given the land also benefit.
The center is equipped with the necessary infrastructure to ensure large-scale production using simple, innovative techniques and materials which are locally available. Emphasis is, however, placed on planning, as it is believed to be the main determining factor inhibiting production. This explains the reason why the training lasts the entire production cycle, to ensure that the women are exposed to every detail at the practical level.
We teach them on first the bed dimension and the bed spacing. Like, for example, you can see most of the beds here are 1 by 10 meters. And we also help them in plant spacing. If you go around the garden, you will see the spacing of the plants, because this will help the plants to give you better yield. And also we help them also to teach them about compost making, because we believe that organic production is more healthy and is, in fact, is more cost effective. And also we help them on mulching, because we always feel that agriculture, water is a limiting factor. But if you mulch your crops, this will also help to reduce the amount of water that the plant is going to need.
This is very, very effective, and it lasts longer than chemical fertilizer. Okay. Because chemical fertilizer, when you apply it after harvesting, you need to look for another one again.
Okay.
But these can serve you for 2 or 3 seasons. Local materials that are sustainable, and also to do away with chemical fertilizer. Because chemical fertilizer, they have an element of chemical in them. Okay. So any time you consume them, know that you are consuming chemicals.
The demand for vegetables is high in the Gambia, this according to officials. Therefore, the challenge for the Ministry of Agriculture is to harness the potentials that exist in the agricultural sector to meet this demand by improving the marketing of the produce. The Ministry of Agriculture is planning to construct 100 kilometers of road under its Access to Markets initiative to help local farmers in the West Coast region sell their produce. This is just one of the long-term strategies Ismaila Sanyang believes will revolutionize vegetable production and marketing. In the short term, the ministry will reach out to local authorities to revive all marketing strategies which are mutually beneficial to all stakeholders.
By using the local administrative structures, I think the issue of access to markets, of ensuring that all this huge vegetable produce or this food horticultural produce are sold should not be a challenge. It is an issue of organization, and we've commented that those women who are in the coastal areas who want to go into some form of business in the agricultural sector, but they do not have a handshake with those producers in the rural communities. This is what we need to do for now, while we also build on infrastructure.
The concept of mixed farming centers is gaining ground in the Gambia as the Ministry of Agriculture recognizes the importance of reaching out to local farmers and passing out the required skills and techniques to effect change. The idea is that agriculture, being a practical field, can best be improved by building the capacity of local farmers and providing the necessary infrastructure to boost production. With this approach, officials are hopeful that they can improve the lives of farmers, thus reducing poverty amongst this very important sector of society. MOMODOU Jallow, GRTS News.
You're reminded that you're watching GRTS News Hour, and these are the headlines. President Jammeh dilates on the reasons that inform his decision to place high premium on health as he answers questions from children taking part in the maiden edition of National Children's Day of Broadcasting. Residents of Tree Low Fuladu West villages descend on Vision 2016 rice fields in Pacha to transplant rice seedlings and prepare nursery beds for the rice variety called Gambianka. Youth leaders highlight gains made by the Jammeh administration in youth empowerment as they look forward to the Africa-wide Youth Convergence dubbed Banjul +10. And the conflicts in Ukraine and Afghanistan topped the agenda during the first meeting between NATO and Russian envoys in 2 years. News Hour continues right out after this break. Welcome back. A joint session of the Public Accounts and Public Enterprises Committees of the National Assembly has given the University of the Gambia more time to prepare its 2014 activity report and financial statement. Officials of Gambia College were also at the National Assembly for the same purpose, but were asked to return at a later date. Louis Mendy reports.
Scheduled us for a later date was the UTG management's plea to the National Assembly's Joint Public Account Public Enterprise Committee when they appeared before the legislative body to present the institution's 2014 audited activity report and financial statements. The plea was accepted, but not without an explanation by the acting Vice Chancellor of the UTG as demanded by the parliamentarians.
Our Chairman of the Council and the Minister for Higher Education unavoidably, and I apologize on his behalf. The second important point, I have assumed duty as an acting Vice Chancellor on 15th of June 2015. And the presentation supposed to be for the year 2013. So I think you now understand this period I was not in control or in power of the university.
Prof. Khalil said time to correct the pending and yet very important issues is what they need, as they are very crucial to the long-term viability of the country's only citadel of learning.
Acting Vice Chancellor and team, thank you very much And we pray to Allah the Almighty to help, to guide you in trying to transform or make good some of the irregularities at the university. We are confident that you can do it and you will do it. We also appreciate the capacity building measures and of course the Senate meetings that you have been having, which hitherto had not been happening. Thank you very much. We can now excuse you and we hope to see you come next session of Parliament. Thank you.
But the UTG was not the only institution deferred by the National Assembly on Thursday, as the Gambia College was also rescheduled for the next PAC-PEC sessions, in which they have to submit their 2013, 2014, and 2015 audited financial statements and activity reports at once. The grazing period will avail the college management the opportunity to compile what the NAM said are comprehensive reports. Louis Mendy, Grts.
Human rights experts and advocates from across the African continent have concluded the 58th ordinary session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, calling for an end to armed conflict and the rising phenomenon of terrorism. We hope to bring you the report in due course. Young people from across Africa will meet in Banjul in the month of May to review progress made in the implementation of the Banjul Youth Charter. 10 years after the illegal instrument came into force, the leaders of the satellite institutions under the Ministry of Youth and Sports have, meanwhile, been speaking about the enviable gains the Gambia has made in the implementation, of the document against the backdrop of unceasing efforts to make the event dubbed Banjul Plus 10 a resounding success. Buba SMCC has more on that.
As the African-wide youth convergence draws nearer, the Ministry of Youth and Sports and its satellite institutions are gearing up for yet another successful hosting of this auspicious event. Delegates are expected to be drawn from across Africa and beyond to discuss pertinent issues relating to the growth and intellectual development of youths. The Executive Secretary of National Youth Council, NYC, Lamin Dabo, highlighted the progress made after the establishment of the Charter 10 years down the line.
You are all aware that the African Youth Charter was adopted in the Gambia in 2006. So 10 years down the line, we bring in the Charter back home, that is the Gambia, to reflect on how far we have gone, what are the challenges and what are the way forward. I think Gambia is reckoned as one of the champions of African Youth Charter. Of course, overall the young people's development. You realize that some of the provisions of the African Youth Charter, Gambia already fulfilled them even before the AU summit in the Gambia in July 2006, which includes the establishment of the National Youth Councils, the institutions of instituting national youth policies. These are things the Gambia has put in place even before the African Youth Charter.
The General Manager at National Enterprise Development Initiative, NEDI, Landimbi Sane, recounted the numerous successes registered by his institution. Sane explained that NEDI's operations are in line with the provisions of the Charter.
The Enterprise Development Initiative was established to provide that support that will empower young people of this country in terms of enterprise development. And by that, it so happened that National Enterprise NEDI was established some 12 years ago, a bit 2 years older. But it is interesting to note that so far within the period, you could see the engagement or the increase in terms of young youth involvement in the business sectors of the economy. I think that is there for everybody to see. A lot of young people are now involved in the enterprise sector.
The fact that a good number of youths in the country are handling influential positions of responsibility. The NEDI boss said the country has a lot to offer to other nations in terms of best practices.
For your information, NEDI was nominated to present our model of entrepreneurship training at the World Chamber of Commerce Congress in Torino, in Italy. This was based on a concept that was presented and the partnership that we are having with the Gambia Growth and Competitiveness Project. This partnership was recognized and the concept was submitted to the World Chamber of Commerce, and the model was seen to be a model of excellence, and we were nominated and selected to present the model at the World Chamber of Commerce Congress in Torino, in Italy.
The President International Awards Program Manager Lamin Sedikan said through his office, Gambian youths have been given technical and vocational education to become better individuals in society. This is something that Sedikan cherishes as a youth.
For us, at the level of PI, when you looked at the Youth Charter, I think our focus should be on the Article 13 that talks about youth and skills development. This is very important because educational skills development occupies center stage in our development agenda. We stand in two pillars. One is the attitudinal change program of young people, that is the International Award Program, and skills development. This PI is, this occupies center stage in our development agenda because you can see we have different area of intervention in this campus here. We have a school that offers different type of skills to the young people. For us, I think, we are playing our part when it comes to skills development. Those that we train, most of them are professionals in their own way of doing things. When we train them and they go out, they become champions of their own development.
It could be recalled that the 7th ordinary session of the Assembly of the African Union, which was held in Banjul on 2nd July 2006, adopted the African Youth Charter as the first legal framework of action. The Charter, among other things, seeks to give priority to policies and programs including youth advocacy and peer-to-peer programs for marginalized youth, such as out-of-school and out-of-work youth, to offer them the opportunity and motivation to reintegrate into mainstream society. Buba SMCC, GRTS.
This is the GRTS News Hour and a quick look at the day's main stories. President Jammeh dilates on the reason that inform his decision to place high premium on health as he answers questions from children taking part in the maiden edition of National Children's Day of Broadcasting. Residents of Trilo Fulodu West villages descend on Vision 2016 rice fields in Pacha to transplant rice seedlings and prepare nursery beds for the rice variety called Gambianka. Youth leaders highlight gains made by the Jammeh administration in youth empowerment as they look forward to the Africa-wide youth convergence dubbed Banjul Plus 10. And the conflicts in Ukraine and Afghanistan topped the agenda during the first meeting between NATO and Russian envoys in 2 years. Let's take another break. News Hour continues in just a moment. Welcome back. Stakeholders in the fisheries subsector and their partners from neighboring Senegal have concluded a 3-day awareness and scoping training for sustainable fishing activities. The sub-regional project follows a 3-year project implemented by the West Africa Association of Artisanal Fisheries. Ibrahim Jallo tells us more.
Stakeholders and leaders in the fisheries subsector and their partners from neighboring Senegal are gathered for an awareness and scoping interface for the second phase of a sub-regional project. The project is being implemented by 7 countries in the sub-region, and these fisher organizations are at hand to look at the thematic areas of the second phase of the project.
The objective of the meeting is to share the project document for consumption of the government, because we cannot develop a project, start implementing without sharing the content of the project. So the importance of this project, the thematic areas of this project, is we are going to do a continuation of the previous year's project activities. We had, as it was said by the Executive Secretary of WADAF, we had 3 collective actions that were developed. One for the fishermen in terms of marine resources management, conservation and development. The other was relating to international trade and the impact of trade on the artisanal fishers. And the third one was relating to also what we call fish hygiene in terms of quality assurances, so that they are safe for human consumption. So the
WADAF, as it is fondly called, is credited with significant progress, and the project's second phase is expected to further strengthen and contribute to the development of sustainable marine sector.
The objective of this workshop is clearly set out to assist the fisher folk, which are not limited to strengthen the capacity of you, the participants, who are the professional organizations in the fisheries sector, to play a more significant role in policy formulation by government.
With the offshoot of the second phase of the WADAF project, expectations locally are already high, given the gains associated with the first phase.
My expectation is that I think we're going to have a governance structure, a structure that will be responsible for the coordination of this project, because one person cannot do it alone. So we have what we call a governance mechanism, that is an implementation mechanism that will be responsible for the administration and the implementation of the project.
The Executive Secretary of the West African Association for the Development of Artisanal Fisheries, Musa Menga, spoke of some of the work the project implemented. He spoke of the challenges faced by the fisheries subsector, such as overfishing and bad practices. The consultative platform is expected to culminate to visit to selected fishing communities as they continue to push the agenda for a more sustainable fisheries sector for the sub-region. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
Over now to news just in. Her Excellency Mrs. Fatunde Gay, Ambassador Designate of the Islamic Republic of the Gambia to Liberia, has presented her letters of credence to Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, President of the Republic of Liberia. A news release from the Foreign Ministry states that in accepting Ambassador Gay's letters of credence, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf acknowledged the long-standing cordial relations between the Gambia and Liberia and called on the two countries to work closely to further deepen and expand bilateral relations. While conveying her special greetings to His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babili Mansa, President of the Islamic Republic of the Gambia, the dispatch adds, President Sirleaf recalled the important role the Gambia played in bringing back peace in Liberia. Her Excellency Ambassador Fatunde Gay, for her part, the release states, conveyed the greetings of His Excellency Sheikh Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babili Mansa, and expressed the government of the Gambia's willingness to further work with the government of Liberia within the framework of a joint ministerial commission to strengthen the public-private sector partnership between the two countries. Her Excellency, the Ambassador, also took the opportunity to extend greetings to the Gambia community based in Liberia and invited them to actively participate in the development of the two countries. The release ends. Against gender-based violence and Action Aid International, the Gambia have jointly staged a 4-day training targeting multi-sectoral stakeholders. Ominjai reports the focus of the program is participatory monitoring and evaluation.
The 4-day training on participatory monitoring and evaluation approaches is one of the programs that the Network Against Gender-Based Violence is advocating for the abandonment of FGMC in the Gambia. The network, together with Action Aid International, the Gambia, gathered participants from different organizations to develop their capacities in a bid to strengthen their capabilities to effectively address issues affecting the sexual and reproductive health rights of girls and women, especially on FGMC.
One of the major areas that we are working on is on advocacy, partnership, networking, awareness raising, and capacity building, among others. And during these past 6 years, as Network is almost 6 years old now, it's a very young organization, but a very strong organization for that matter because of its membership.
Participatory monitoring and evaluation approaches, they remarked, is a vital process through which stakeholders at different levels engage in evaluating a particular project. This, they said, promotes accountability and transparency and can further empower beneficiaries to take ownership of this important initiative.
Fortunately, we already have a legal framework in place, but the work is not yet done because we want people to be convinced and sustainably stop the practice of FGMC. In so doing, we have to provide more evidence. We have to give people more education so that they are persuaded enough to permanently stop the practice.
Participants during the next 4 days are expected to gather better knowledge and understanding of participatory monitoring and evaluation approaches in a bid to better address issues of FGMC in the Gambia. NJIE, GRTS.
The Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation on Tuesday sought to clear misconceptions people have about the corporation. Tuesday's news conference also availed SSHFC officials the opportunity to set light on the range of services it offers to the citizenry, workers in particular. Farmer Kanye picks up the rest of that story.
Press briefing by the management of Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation is meant to familiarize members of the media about some of the services the corporation offers, as well clear some misconceptions people have about the corporation. Facilities are divided into 3 categories. First, the Federated Pension Scheme, one of the facilities created to provide social security protection for workers in quasi-governmental organizations. The scheme is funded from contributions at a rate periodically determined, forming the members' basic salary and allowances. The 15% rate is a proportion that an employer is liable to pay on behalf of the employee.
The idea is for people to be aware. The employers and employees should know their rights. Because if you know your rules, that's the time you can talk about your rights. So the employers have the role to play. If somebody works for you for 30 days or more, the individual should be registered. So we've realized in some institutions, they make sure that people are kept as casual workers indefinitely. Some they will say they are daily wages, without registering them. Just say because it's temporal. In as much as the job is temporal, the person, if he works for you for 30 days or more, that person has a life, has a family. Anything can happen. Anything can befall the individual. So the individual has the right to be registered. In case of anything, contribution should be paid. And the contribution should be 10% and employer liability and 5% to be deducted from the employee. This put together will give you, 15%. That is supposed to come at the end of every month.
The National Provident Fund is another social security protection which has been functional since 1981, brought into effect by an Act of Parliament. It protects members against interruption or loss of earning power as a result of specified contingencies such as old age, premature retirement, retirement on grounds of marriage, invalidity, death, and redundancy.
What we do basically is there are rules regarding the payment of benefits. That is both for members of the Provident Fund and the members of the Federated Pension Fund. And it's like for each of the cases, we look at the conditions surrounding the claimant. That is, there are qualifying conditions for benefits. Like, for example, when we say when somebody is 60 years, that one is termed as a normal retirement. So what is done in terms of paying the benefit for the Federated Pension Fund and that of the National Provident Fund are totally different arrangements. So here, conditions are there with regards to how the money is accessed.
Accidents are sometimes unavoidable. For that reason, in July 1996, the government of the Gambia passed into law the Injuries Compensation Act. It is a social insurance scheme which protects employees against employment injuries.
For those who are not mandated by law, to be registered, they are also having that option is there for them to register voluntarily, like what we normally call the gender NJIEs. These people who will go and sell again, they buy and then go and sell again. These market vendors, these taxi drivers, these are all in the informal sector. In fact, we are working on how best we can be able to capture that sector of the society. But as at now, they need to be encouraged to come forth and register, and when they register voluntarily, the minimum amount they can pay every month is just $50. They are allowed to decide how much they want to pay every month. They can say $100 every month, and then at the end of the month, it becomes binding on them to be contributing such amounts, as at when it is time for them to come and pay at the end of the month. So these individual informal sector people are not covered. So we want people to come forward and register voluntarily.
Conditions are there with regards to how the money is accessed. Now, one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have is that we are very quick at collecting money, but when it comes to paying the money, that is the payment of benefits, we tend to drag our feet. What I will say here is, when it comes to payments of benefit, there have to be qualifying conditions. So if you meet those qualifying conditions, then it means you receiving your money should not be a problem. Basically, what causes the delay in receiving contributions or in receiving benefits most of the time is when we realize that contributions have not been forthcoming on behalf of the claimant. So in that situation, what happens is we need time to go after the employee, or the employer rather, to make sure that we collect contributions before we pay.
The Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation is using this platform to call on employers, both government and parastatals, to ensure they pay their contributions on time and avoid delays. For GRTS News, I am Famarakani.
7 institutions recently received a donation of vehicles from the Holland-based non-governmental organization, Go for Africa. Gambia Radio and Television Services also received a gift of 10 used computers from the body. Chenke Toure tells us more.
Television services. The aim of Go for Africa is to, among other things, enhance the learning environment, especially for rural dwellers, as manifested in the presentation of a minivan to Armitage Senior Secondary School.
Group now, this year, of Go for Africa, is not a very big group. Last year there was Ebola. To set everything up again in Holland is not easy. But for next year I hope to have a bigger group. But I'm very glad with the students of Holland for this year. Carry their own responsibility to live with Gambians and Senegalese people together in a proper way, in a good way, in a respectful way, in a humanitarian way. And this is full of respect from my side to you. Thank you for that. This is the 10th year of Go for Africa, who is busy over here and in Senegal. Only due to border problems, we could not enter in Senegal. So this is the first time in 10 years we could not support educational systems in the Casamance. I just like to give you some highlights of Go for Africa this year. Because as Soraya said, she likes to work with the smile of children, with young children, handicapped children. Last week we opened the first educational room supported by the Ministry of Education in the Gambia for handicapped children here in Tangier. They are supporting now around about 30 children. Another highlight has been mentioned already in John Beret for the automotive section.
We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia after this short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. The Banjul Bicentenary Organizing Committee has received a donation of $100,000 from the Gambia Ports Authority and $5,000 from the Gambia Cricket Association. We have details in this report by Khadija Tijalo.
Donations are pouring in. This as the Banjul Bicentenary celebrations continue to inch ever closer. It is no surprise that Gambia Ports Authority is coming forward with financial assistance earmarked for the commemoration of the founding of the city where it is headquartered and does much of its business.
We are pleased to present a check, a trust bank check, worth $100,000 as the authority's modest contribution towards this very auspicious occasion, which is the bicentenary commemoration of the city of Banjul. It is with great pride and a great sense of commitment to the cause of our motherland that we contribute our quota towards this noble initiative.
Although it is not as well endowed with financial resources as Gambia Ports Authority is, Gambia Cricket Association did manage to part with some of its mega resources to help make the anniversary a resounding success.
We're happy you are here. This is an example for others, institutions, entrepreneurs, and private citizens to support this worthy cause.
Members of the Banjul Bicentenary Organizing Committee are appreciative of the interventions.
That the association has donated a check of $5,000, a trust bank check, to the organizing committee of the Banjul 200-year celebration as part of our contribution to this great celebration.
Now today we have witnessed 3 donations. The last one in time is anonymous, so we don't go into that for the camera. But the first and second are of paramount importance, especially the Gambia Ports Authority. They are an important stakeholder in this matter because the Banjul port is of paramount importance to the Gambia's economy. So they too are important stakeholder, and they know what they are worth, and they have to play a part, and we welcome you and thank you for your good contribution. Concerning those in the cricket association, the cricket, where they say in Latin, mene sana in corpore sano. A healthy mind is to be found in a healthy body. What you have done is also great. We recognize it and we appreciate it, and we pray that we have more inflow of funds so that this bicentenary will be a resounding success.
There is a steady stream of donations, but Mayor Abdoulaye Ba of Banjul wants the flow to continue unhindered, for to him, the Banjul Bicentenary celebrations should be supported by all Gambians.
There are others that doesn't want their name to be announced. The first one come with $50,000. The other one is $14,000. And hopefully that if all put hands on deck, we will achieve what we want to achieve. We are still calling each and every individual, especially the institutions that are working in Banjul. For example, like the shipping agencies. Tokomar has come with a donation. And we are expecting Maxline with other agencies.
Banjul plays host to a good number of businesses, some of them making huge profits. It is hoped that they will, in their own ways, help the city celebrate its 200th birthday in grand style. Khadija Tujalo, GRTS.
Over now to news beyond our borders. In Brussels, NATO and Russian envoys have met for the first time in almost 2 years to discuss several key security issues. High on the agenda were the conflicts in Ukraine and Afghanistan. The NATO-Russia Council was suspended following Moscow's annexation of Crimea in 2014, which affected relations between the two sides. We have more in this DWTV report.
Fighter jets flashed past the US warship Donald Cook sailing in the Baltic Sea last week, an irritation to NATO leaders who condemned the flypast as unprofessional and unsafe. Moscow in turn hasn't been pleased by recent NATO exercises in Latvia. It worries the alliance aims for a permanent large-scale force stationed in Eastern Europe.
This is Turkish Air Force speaking, Gonga.
But relations have been difficult for many months, made worse in November when NATO member Turkey shot down a Russian fighter jet. That followed the end of high-level defence meetings in 2014 after the Crimea crisis. Those are now resuming.
they realize that this is needed, and to a certain extent it's also an acknowledgement that it was probably a mistake to suspend the NATO-Russia Council, and that you need a minimum of communication. Russia will always portray it as a mini-victory, that's quite clear.
The Council itself might try to avoid the awkward topic of winners and losers. Since being set up in 2002, one of its aims has been to build trust between Western nations and Moscow. Despite the misgivings of several Eastern European countries, that gives Russia a unique position.
It was actually a rather significant thing to give to Russia because, you know, there's no other country in the world that has such a privileged position with NATO, that it has its own council, its own separate mechanism and channel with NATO. I think, you know, the establishment of the council at the time was an acknowledgement that Russia will remain an important player in European security, and that you need a special way of dealing with it.
But tension between the two sides remains high, primarily because of the continuing conflict in Ukraine. That also highlighted the failures of the Council as a diplomatic tool, with the West eventually forced to impose tough economic sanctions on Moscow.
Security architecture in Europe, Ukraine, the Minsk agreement, you know, all of these things, we don't see eye to eye, and this is why the agenda for the summit, for the NATO-Russia Council, you know, is likely to remain actually rather thin. It's much more a symbolic thing.
And symbolism can be important. The two sides are at odds over many issues, but on the Council at least, some sort of dialogue will now take place.
The frontrunners in the race to contest the U.S. presidential election got another boost to their campaigns. Democrat Hillary Clinton and Republican Donald Trump scored big wins in the New York primaries. In the Republican race, native New Yorker Donald Trump won 60% of the votes, giving him a vital edge over his closest rival, Ted Cruz. And the former New York State Senator Hillary Clinton took nearly 58% of the vote, dealing a serious blow to her challenger Bernie Sanders. Let's look at this DWTV report for more on that.
Clinton says she's ready to step up to the next stage for her party.
The race for the Democratic nomination is in the home stretch, and victory is in sight.
That's all they want to hear.
Today, you proved once again there's no place like home. You know, in this campaign, we've won in every region of the country. From the north to the south, to the east, to the west, but this one's personal.
Most could vote, but more than 100,000 Democrats were not on the electoral roll. Authorities have promised an investigation. Others missed out for more mundane reasons.
Tens of thousands of people, as I understand it, have been purged from the voting rolls. It's a little bit crazy that in upstate New York, they opened the polls at 12 noon. What happens to people who get up early in the morning and have to go to work?
The big problem. Republican of the night was Donald Trump.
Thank you, New York. We love New York. We love New York.
This victory will give his campaign an expected, but nonetheless much needed, boost.
We don't have much of a race anymore, based on what I'm seeing on television.
John Kasich isn't racing, he's waiting and hoping for a contested convention.
You know, I think they're going to make a pick my way. That's what I believe. And there's one other thing. You know, I'm the only one here with the positive message, the unifying message. I think the party ought to have a choice when it comes to that.
The spectacle isn't over yet. The next round is in a week.
We take our second break now. Sports news is next. Welcome back. Veteran football star Alhaji MOMODOU is leading the call for Gambians to support the U20 Scorpions as they prepare to host Sierra Leone in the return leg of the CAF U20 qualifiers. Biri made the rallying call in an interview with Grts, and as Mamoudou S. Jallo reports, the former Seville star and Gambia international has also reacted to recent reports by a local newspaper alleging that he denied a teammate the chance to take a crucial penalty.
National football returns to the Independent Stadium this weekend, less than 3 weeks after the Scorpions were held to a disappointing goalless draw by Mauritania in the 2017 African Cup of Nations qualifiers, a result which has seemingly ended any hopes of the Gambia qualifying to the continent's showpiece football event. Well, attention now shifts to the under-20 Scorpions, who will be hosting their Sierra Leonean equivalents in the return leg of the preliminary round of qualifiers for the 2017 CAF Under-20 Championship in Zambia. The young Scorpions hold a 2-0 advantage from the first leg, played in the Sierra Leonean town of Makeni a fortnight ago. 2 second-half goals from Generation Foot's duo of Bonsane and Abdoulaye Jallo secured Omar Sisse's side a vital away win, making them clear favourites to progress to the next round of qualifiers. The team has since on Monday entered camp to adequately prepare for the return leg. As part of their preparations, the young Scorpions were given a good test on Tuesday by the GFF Second Division League leaders, Marimo Football Club, despite a 4-1 win for the under-20 team. Tuesday's test game was watched by the country's all-time best footballer, Alhaji MOMODOU Biri. The former Walidan and national team captain made a surprise appearance to watch the lads train for the first time, and afterwards, he spoke to GRT Sports about his impression.
The performance I saw today and also the intention that the boys were playing definitely is encouraging.
What would be your advice going into such a game?
Well, it's not going to be an easy game, because winning away, that doesn't mean you will win at home, because the team that is coming, their intention is to come and fight back to win here. And I'm sure with the boys, with the encouragement that I have and the determination that they have now, I can assure you that on Saturday there will be victory on the Gambian side.
With the young Scorpions favourites going into the second leg, the Gambia's greatest footballer made a rallying call for the promising team.
It's very important spectators to come over and cheer their national team. As I always said, without spectators, football is nothing. It's the entertainment that the supporters do. That's why everything is going on fine. And I'm hoping that the turnout will be special, because we won in Sierra Leone and now we are expecting to win here again. And I'm calling all supporters, football fans, whom are not fans in football, but I need all Gambians to come over and cheer our under-20 team.
Biri's presence at the training ground could serve as a source of inspiration for the youngsters, having had a distinctive career for both club and country. Well, after hanging his boots more than 2 decades ago, Biri was back on the spotlight when a recent publication on Observer Light revisited one of the lowest moments of his glittering career, when he lost a crucial penalty for the national team in the 1983 Zone 2 Championship. The article prompted a series of comments and debate on social media, with veteran football commentator Tijan Masane Sise revealing that Biri had in fact denied teammate Baimale Wada from taking the spot kick when Baimale was chasing the leading goal scorer. When quizzed about the penalty missed almost 3 decades ago, the former Gambian captain refutes those comments.
It's simple. A teammate nearly winning a golden boot, how can I stop him, or how can I against him, and I'm in the team to win a golden boot? So I don't talk about that, because it's a simple logic, and people who go with their senses will know Biri and Sehusar will not deter by Males winning the golden boots in Mauritania.
So what actually happened that particular day, almost 32 years ago, when most of us were not around?
Well, you are asking about the penalty that I lost. You know, I was the oldest player among the team, and each and every player was afraid to take the penalties. I decided as the eldest and also the most experienced player in the team, I decided to take the penalty. Well, I was not lucky, but where I put the ball and where the goalkeeper went was different. So definitely it was not my intention to kick it out, but to put it in the goal, because I was the one who is responsible for the entire team and also the country at large. So I take the responsibility. Yeah.
Well, despite that crucial penalty missed, the former Sevilla superstar is still regarded as one of the best African footballers to grace the beautiful game. He is still remembered around the world for his memorable 5-year spell with Sevilla Football Club in the Spanish First Division. And for the Gambia, he is still regarded as one of the best players to ever don the red, white, blue, white and green colors of the country. MOMODOU, GRT Sports.
From sports, we shift our attention to the weather report from the Central Forecast Office.
Atlas, go further.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the weather forecast. During the morning, the weather was partly cloudy and misty, while in the afternoon it was sunny and relatively warm. And for the satellite image shows scattered convective cloud over the central and over the eastern part of Africa. This cloud will cause rain, lightning and thunderstorm over the affected areas. Dry and stable atmosphere still prevailing over the Gulf of Guinea, while dust haze over the northern part of Africa, which will cause dry air and poor horizontal visibility. Tonight, the weather is expected to be fairly warm throughout the whole country, while for the day tomorrow, a stable atmosphere and fairly cool will prevail during the morning, and in the afternoon will be sunny, slightly hazy and relatively warm. Surface winds will mainly be northwesterlies in direction, and the speed will vary between 10 and 20 kilometers per hour. Minimum temperatures across the country will be 20 degrees over the Greater Banjul and West Coast, 19 over North Bank, 23 over Lower River, 24 over Central, and 25 over Upper River region. And for the maximum temperatures will be 35 degrees over the Greater Banjul, 37 over West Coast, 40 over Lower River, while 41 over North Bank and Central River region, and 42 over Upper River region. Low tide will be 0.3 meters at 3 a.m. and also at 3 p.m. High tide will be 1.6 meters at 9 a.m. and 1.7 meters at 10 p.m. Wave height will be 1 to 2 meters northwesterly swells. The sun will rise at 40 minutes to 7 in the morning and set at 19:21 in the evening. That was the forecast. Thanks for watching and good night.
And before we take leave of you, a recap of the day's main stories. President Jammeh has been dilating on the reasons that inform his decision to place high premium on health as he answers questions from children taking part in the maiden edition of National Children's Day of Broadcasting. Residents of Trilo Fuladu West villages descend on Vision 2016 rice fields in Pacha to transplant rice seedlings and prepare nursery beds for the rice variety called Gambianka. Youth leaders have been highlighting gains made by the Jammeh administration in youth empowerment as they look forward to the Africa-wide youth convergence dubbed Banjul +10. And the conflicts in Ukraine and Afghanistan topped the agenda during the first meeting between NATO and Russian envoys in 2 years. That's all in this edition of the News Hour. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Do stay with GRTS and enjoy the rest of our interesting programs.